Welcome to Sweethearts or Rivals. I'm Charla.
I'm Justin.
What's on our table today?
Scoville.
And Scoville in the lab.
That's correct.
Right. I thought you were going to say it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yep.
Scoville and in the lab, it changes the stats a little bit for in the lab. It raises the age from 13 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
It still plays 2 to 6 players.
Yep.
And I think the time is probably the same, an hour to 90 minutes.
Yep.
And it's published by Tasty Minstrel Games.
This is correct. Right. So what do you think of the components of Scoville?
I think the components for Scoville are out of this world, really, because you've got all these cute little wooden pepper meeples. They're awesome.
Yep.
And then you've got this puzzle board, which this one, it doesn't lay quite flat for us.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to move our people around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got these cutouts.
Yeah, the pepper cutout pieces, that's awesome.
Yeah, if this board didn't have a cutout to set your peppers in, I think it would be really annoying because your peppers would be jiggling all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that they went that little extra mile to put those in there really helps sell the game. Because the pepper pieces fit perfectly.
You don't have to worry about them getting mixed up.
They don't get pushed around.
Yeah.
They're not falling over.
And the cardboard is really thick.
Mm-hmm.
And also the peppers themselves, they're higher.
Yeah.
The more quality pepper you get.
Yeah.
They keep getting thicker and thicker.
Yeah. Which is actually another good reason why you need this kind of punch-out board here, because some of those peppers are tall. Like the ghost pepper is like super tall, which means it's going to be falling down all over the place. So it's really nice that they did that. It is awesome.
Yeah, and I think they did the different heights for colorblind issues.
Yeah. So that's cool too.
So, yeah, I'm just not sure if the height between the basic color
And the secondary colors?
Yeah, if it's a big enough difference to be helpful when you're looking at it, you know, when you're sitting down at the table.
Yeah.
Like to touch them and feel them, yes, you can definitely tell the difference between them.
Yeah.
But just like as a
just kind of glancing at the board, yeah.
Because I can't remember which colors get mixed up for colorblind, but
yeah, right.
It's awesome.
Cool.
The components are excellent, and the art is super cool.
Yeah, art is awesome.
Yeah. And just really the theme of peppers.
Yeah.
And pepper planting is an awesome theme.
That is a good theme.
What do you think about the strategy, which for us is strategy, tactics, and luck?
It's a very interesting blend. What cards are going to come out every round to get peppers? That's randomness. The setup of recipes, because there's a lot of recipe cards. So that's going to be a variable setup for each game, because those are the only recipe cards that come out. The rest are out of the game.
And it depends on how many players.
Yeah.
So like in a 2-player game for us, we're only going to see 8 recipes that time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's also going to influence the game quite a bit, because like in the playthrough, we had a lot of really difficult high point value recipes. Which meant the game was going to go a little bit longer than normal. So you have to understand how that affects the game, and then take a long-term strategy appropriate to that.
Right.
So it's an interesting kind of strategy and variable setup as part of the game. The other thing too is the market place over here. Again, you're only going to put out so many cards from the morning and the afternoon deck, so kind of going for that is going to affect short and long-term goals as well.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting kind of variable setup there. But the randomness is very low in the game. Other than the auction that comes out every round, there's not really a lot of randomness. There is, however, a whole lot of player chaos, especially when you play with more players. And where that comes in is with the harvesting. Because whoever goes first in the harvesting can stop, and nobody can get past them. And there's a lot of blockage. Yeah,
the rows in a garden are very narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't risk trampling over your pepper plants.
Makes total sense.
Of course.
Also that you can't turn around when you're walking, because that's just silly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You just wait for the next person. Farming is a leisurely
True.
hobby.
Yeah. So there's a lot of tactics that are going to influence your long-term strategies because of the player chaos in the blocking, and when you start realizing how that kind of the interactions with the players and a lot of blocking and stealing stuff from other people or out from under people, it makes the auction much more important because you really need to make sure that if you need to plant or fulfill cards this round, you need to be first, and if you need to harvest the best peppers, you need to be last. Yeah, so it's an interesting blend that seems to work quite well with low player counts. We played it once with 6 people, and you really couldn't plan anything at all.
No, it actually ended up being kind of frustrating, actually.
Very frustrating.
With that many players.
Yeah. Just the player chaos and blockage and snagging things out from under people. Like, there were so many people that were going to be doing that. That, having any kind of plan was just futility.
Right, and then when you're trying to make a plan, it's doubly hard, so it takes you twice as long.
Yeah.
So the amount of time that you were just waiting for your turn to come around was much longer because you had 5 other players having to do that on each their own turns.
Yeah. So it's as the player counts get higher and higher, the tactics take over, and the long-term planning kind of goes away. And the AP tends to ramp up a lot as well. So not bad at all at low player counts. I'd say like 2 is great, 3. I wouldn't go much higher than 4.
3 is probably the best.
Yeah.
Because I find it's lacking a little in the auction with 2.
Yeah, that's true. That's also true. Yeah.
And what about in the lab? Like, does that change the tactics or strategy?
It does, because the lab is your own. Nobody can mess with your lab, which I think is awesome. That is really great. I can't imagine playing Scoville without the lab expansion.
I actually really enjoy the lab expansion a lot.
Yeah. Nobody can mess with it, so you're going to plant your peppers in there, and then you can plan out what you're going to plant and how they're going to crossbeat, and you're guaranteed to get those peppers, and nobody can mess with that. The only problem with it is it means you're getting rid of 2 of your peppers every round. The planting on here and then the so sometimes that can be difficult because it means giving up those opportunities to go get stuff. But
it's tricky to manage it.
It's better in the long run, which actually helps put more long-term strategy into the game. Plus the fact, again, that nobody can mess with it.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Excellent. So, what about the complexity?
The concept of the game is not complex because I'm going to gather peppers to fill orders and make chili. Yeah. The complexity of the game comes in with these crossbreeding these peppers in this field. Yeah. And it's a little tricky. Like, you've got your primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Yes. So the secondary colors really make sense because your blue and your red are going to give you the purple. Yep. And your red and your yellow are going to give you the orange. Yep. And your yellow and your blue are going to give you the green.
There you go.
But once you get past those 6 colors, like, all chaos happens because then your secondary peppers are going to interact with your primary peppers to give you the browns. Yep. But then if your secondary peppers interact, it's not just one color. Like, sometimes they're going to be black, sometimes they're going to be white. Yep. And then there's ghost peppers. So I think the amount of peppers that are in the chart got a little complex.
That's a lot of peppers.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to read the chart, but I feel like there's too many colors of peppers in the game.
And the In the Lab has given an alternative pepper reading chart, which is this one right here.
I like the first one better.
Yeah. And it's kind of a condensed version. It still gives you the same information. It breaks it down between the primary colors, the secondary colors. But, I mean, it's still a lot of information. And so as soon as you have 5 or 6 players messing with all the peppers on the board, and you've got to figure out, what's my best path? There's a lot of cross-referencing to do.
Yeah. And there's how many? Well, there's 3 and 3 and 9. There's 10 different colors. Yeah. But I feel like there might be, even if it's just one color too many. And then, like I said, like it doesn't seem very intuitive with the brown, the black, the white, the ghost pepper.
No, it is, because I understand the primary colors mixing to become the secondary colors, and I understand that correlation.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I still get it mixed up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand it. It intuitively makes sense, and I still mix it up all the time.
Yeah.
And have to check the chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is just frustrating.
So I think because the concept of the game is really straightforward, it's quite easy to teach.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just trying to explain like the moving around and how the peppers are going to interact with each other.
Yeah.
And like getting all those steps straight, that's the tricky part.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you add a lot of players, the complexity becomes like almost exponentially more. If you can keep the player count low, it's a much less complex situation.
Mm-hmm. So what about playability, mechanics versus theme and replayability and all that?
Okay. The mechanics with the theme is actually pretty neat. It makes a lot of sense because you are taking all these different kinds of peppers and you're crossbreeding them and getting better peppers, and that's kind of cool. It all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The auction makes sense. The demand in the market makes sense. The recipes make a lot of sense. They're kind of cool. Lots of really cool names for this recipes.
I love the names.
Yeah, they're awesome. We've already talked quite a bit about the scalability of the game and how the scalability changes the game drastically. So that is something you're going to have to be aware of this game. You can't look at Scoville and think, oh, it's 2 to 6, and it's the same game, because it's just not.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different with the different number of players. As well as the game length, depending on what kind of recipes come out, that's going to change the game length, how many players, because with lots of players, the game does take much, much, much longer.
Mm-hmm.
As for replayability, the fact that you're only going to be using so many recipes, which changes the game itself,
mm-hmm.
So many market cards, which changes the game, it's got a lot of replayability, which is kind of cool, especially if you enjoy the kind of pepper planting building empire thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Does it have the awesomeness or the cuteness?
I am more awed by the cuteness than the awesomeness.
There you go.
Because, I mean, the components are just awesomely cute.
Yes.
I say awesome, but they're so cute.
Yep.
Like, they made these little pepper meeples. Like, can you see it?
Little pepper planter?
Yeah, like, just to design him and have him cut out, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
His little hat and his little pepper parcel on his back.
Yeah.
And these peppers are shaped exactly like peppers.
The peppers are awesome.
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing.
I love the components, and the artwork is so cute and funny.
They're spectacular.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cute. So you've got someone looking for a game for the game group, and they ask you, what about Scoville?
Scoville, okay. If you are like a very large group of like super quick thinkers,
Analyzers.
yeah, then Scoville's probably for you.
Yeah.
But if you are not super quick thinkers and you prefer to strategize, and a shifting chaos of a puzzle isn't your thing, Scoville could still be for you, but only very small player groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the whole pepper crossbreeding does bog. I find it bogs the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Bogs it down.
Yeah. So, that basically is what you got to look at it, is how big is your group and what kind of gamers are they in terms of quick tactical stuff,
mm-hmm.
or long-term kind of slow down, think about stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Because we did play with a very large group that liked to really ponder all their options,
mm-hmm.
and just, wow.
It took the whole night.
Yeah, the game just slogged.
Mm-hmm.
It was not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do find the game very thematic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you like theme and you like different quirky funny themes,
yeah,
and you can make fast decisions about a lot of different options,
mm-hmm.
then I think it's right up your alley.
Absolutely. Good enough. Are we going to trade it or keep it?
I think I would be willing to trade it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Just because even though we've enjoyed playing it as a 2-player game, it does kind of lose a lot of the auction stuff, like you said.
Right.
Yeah. And we've played it with more than 2.
Yeah, and they're not going to play it with us anymore because they didn't like it.
No.
Yeah.
So our game group has said no thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a traitor. I am glad that we got the In the Lab expansion from a Kickstarter, so we could at least see that, because that has boosted the game's playability a lot. So that is awesome.
Yeah, I recommend that if you have Scoville and you don't have the lab yet, definitely check out the lab.
Yeah.
And if you love Scoville and you're going to keep it, for sure you probably even want to just buy it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't usually even recommend people to just go out and buy things, but the lab I find really added some interesting things.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it.
Yeah. It didn't solve all the problems that we kind of found with the game, but
that make it tricky for us, yeah.
It did help a lot of the problems quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely worth looking at. All right, do we finish Scoville as Sweethearts or Rivals? We finished it as
Rivals.
Sweethearts.
Really?
Yeah.
Pepper planting is a sweetheart game?
Yeah. Because my favorite chili is like sweet chili with some heat. I don't know. I don't like it's kind of odd how when you're playing with lots of players, that whole bogged down harvesting blockage for 2 players just doesn't happen.
No, but I was having a lot of rivalry with you playing more so than with the 6.
Oh my.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you can only just focus on what you're doing when there's 6 players.
True.
But when it's me against you, it's like I'm keeping an eye on which kind of
That's a good point.
peppers you're planting, and I have an idea of what kind of, and I'm going to snag up those recipes if I can, because I'd rather have the points on my side of the divider than yours.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is an aspect of like a race to get to the recipes and the markets first. So I can see how having less players allows you to keep an eye on the other player's goals a little bit better.
Right.
Difficult with the shields, but you can figure stuff out.
With only one person, you can keep in mind, like, I mean, if you watch our playthrough, I did manage to block you on one thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Although I don't know if it was enough to help anything. You'll have to watch, I guess, the playthrough. But
I guess my thing with the whole Sweethearts or Rivals is when I'm playing it with more people, I can't be really rivalry because I can't keep track of what's going on, but I'm blocked a whole lot more and frustrated a lot more, so I don't feel sweet at all.
Right.
So, there you go.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is Scoville and the expansion In the Lab.
Yes.
Right on.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you in the next video.
Laters.